Park management in BC is hamstrung by the Park Act. The BC Park Act is different from many park acts because its focus is not conservation, it is recreation. In that sense, it's a document that is largely out of steps with the needs of the times. So recreation is important because it gives people the opportunity to begin to create a bond with place. Because it confronts them with themselves. But in terms of the state of the forest in BC, it is important at this point, with climate change and the biodiversity collapse, that we take every possible step to enhance conservation.
The Strathcona Wilderness Institute hire summer students to go out into the field and do research. And I was one of those students last year, 2024. My whole life I've been into the outdoors and nature, and it's always been like a huge part of my character and my personality. It was great to be able to go to that position with the Strathcona Wilderness Institute because, you know, I have the summer off and then I get to spend the summer going out into such a beautiful place and doing the stuff that I love and expanding my skill set as I do that.
Can they be balanced? Yes, I believe they can, but we have to be realistic. The population, when I was a young man, the population of Canada was 21 million. It's now 39 million. So literally we've doubled in 50 years. That became quite obvious here with COVID. Use of the park shot up massively, and the impact has been tremendous. The park has not grown since the Larkin Report in 1992. To meet the conservation and recreation needs, you need to expand the park.
Yeah, so the typical day was pretty much you go out and you go to whatever area you're going to that day, and you collect as much data as you can just by photo observation of anything you come across. There's a website called iNaturalist where people can upload photos, and then people help them learn what that is. They help identify all the things in there. So it's become this huge database, tons of observations, and it's great for keeping track of things.
The dilemma in conservation is, do you give people access, and will access create destruction? I think the more important approach is, how do you create a sense of responsibility in people? Naturalist education is an opportunity to gain that sense of respect. Climate change is here. So if we're going to address climate change, we shouldn't just be talking about biodiversity. We have to understand it. One of the best things that has happened is the iNaturalist program. Every individual across the world can go photograph a species, put it up, and other experts will come and tell you what it is. Knowledge is the best way to address climate change.
I always find it very difficult to simply explain what slime molds are because they're so odd and they're so unique. They used to be considered fungi, but they are now actually considered to be a kind of protist. They're basically a goop that moves around and eats whatever can come across. It's very interesting because this goop is very smart, and we don't really know why they're smart. Another really interesting thing with slime molds is the fact that they are only one cell, even though they can get to these big patches. The same simplicity as our cells, except just a lot bigger, which is why it's so weird that they're so smart, 'cause it's hard to gauge exactly how they learn. Yeah, they're nuts.
Zeke has realized, no point in an adult telling him, he already knows everything. He's a teenager. He's finally realized that every week he can turn to the same log and he'll find himself new slime molds. He's found 22 this summer in 2 months, new to the park. People doing this work and reporting on it should make people realize what a tremendous treasure we have here.
Slime molds are a very interesting group because they aren't studied much, or they haven't been studied much historically. They've gained more traction recently, and I am a result of that traction. So it's just great to be able to make that contribution on a group that is pretty understudied. I haven't found a new species for BC in Strathcona Park yet, but I know they're out there. So just keep looking and keep finding, and discoveries are going to be made, and it's awesome that I get to be a part of that.
We bring people from afar to bring us knowledge, do the work of finding out what's in the park and all the rest. Just as in 1989, when people realized that the park was in trouble, the people who use the park, the people who live here, have to develop a sense of place. And many already have a beginning of that. There's no harm in not knowing. There's no shame in not knowing. The shame is not wanting to know. Go out, find out. Join your naturalist society. Get involved in restoration projects. There's lots of them. There's lots to be done. Sadly, BC used to produce some really disgusting wine. It became better when people realized they lived in different regions, that we had terroir. Well, regionalism is important. The North Island isn't southern Vancouver Island. They're not the same thing. We have different species. We have different experiences. Basically, understanding our differences, that I think is where the future is. The park should be managed not by rules from above, but from the bottom up. It means engaging local people in managing their park, having a greater say. People aren't engaged because they're not encouraged to be engaged. So number one, start engaging people. As a director of SWI, I would be very happy to have high schoolers on the board of director. I want their input. And I think BC Parks should start looking for the input of young people. There's one thing I learned from teaching. You learn most when you have to teach it. So in other words, when you're given the responsibility to teach something, you learn it because you're going to have to stand in front of people. People will say, well, kids know nothing about the parks. Young people know nothing. And They don't have the time. But if you give them the responsibility, people will take that responsibility and they will give you fresh ideas. You know, I don't have all the answers. I don't think somebody in Ottawa has all the answers. I don't think somebody in Victoria has all the answers. But I think the people who live here, who use the park, have most of the answers already there. You'd be surprised if you actually asked them, if you actually engaged them in it.
I think people my age have a lot coming with the way the world's right now, but we have a lot more to discover. I find it interesting. There's always more to discover, even when it feels like there's more to discover. So it doesn't have to be your thing to come out here. It doesn't have to be your thing to go looking for birds, but just knowing it's there and knowing its importance and respecting it. If everyone can do that, it's just going to make the world a much, much better place.
The truth is, I'm excited because these are exciting times. Exciting times, number one, a lot of people, an increasing number of people, can't escape the reality of climate change and recognize it. My cohort of baby boomers is waning. The young people are inheriting a mess, and they're handling it beautifully. I think doors are being opened with a new generation, and I think we've got exciting times ahead. There's going to be change. Right now, what we have to look at is how do we stop the Holocaust long enough for young people to be able to implement the changes that are coming. So I think it's going to be a brighter world. Hope I get to see it.
If you collect data about a place, it helps to protect that place because you have all this data to present what lives there, and it's always going to be a bunch of stuff, especially for a place like Strathcona Park. You get to, display this research and this abundance and how wonderful this place really is. I think it's very, very important to have places like Strathcona Park because there's the side of it of we can go in and we can enjoy it and we can experience it and learn to love nature. But I think there's also a whole other part of it, which is that areas like Strathcona Park are so important simply for the life to be there, so that it can live out its life just in the heart of this wild area, can ebb and flow, do whatever it wants to do, whether we're there to witness it or not. If you don't have much experience going into places like Strathcona Park, I really encourage anyone to just go and see it and experience it. And yeah, it doesn't have to be your thing, but just go, just see it, just be there and just let yourself be still with it or whatever, or you can be not still with it like me, getting all buzzy over slime molds. It's very good for the ecosystem because it gets more patrons, I guess you could say. And then it's good for you too because it's hard to be out in a place like this and not get something from it.